Afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for April 17th, 2019. SPY down a quarter of a percent after gapping up, and the Qs gapping up to all-time highs there, up just 0.35. So showing clear relative strength on the part of the Qs. IWM, the example of relative weakness here, getting sold, gapped up and got sold. So we do have some divergence, which is pretty interesting. Now, if this divergence turns out to be sector rotation, then that doesn't really spell a drop coming. We'll have to wait and see if this hourly can be broken here. Qs look fine. They pulled back, support held, right? It's the SPY and the IWM, which, if we get some kind of pullback here, will be the ones leading the way lower. So what we'll have to see is more follow through, get to this 287.60 area, and then the next setup, whether that's a breakdown from there or a sell setup, that will be what we'd have to look for this hourly to break down. We are underneath the 20 MA here. It's still flat though, right? So flat MAs, when you're dealing with a flat MA, typically price will go above and then be met with an equal reaction below. And then when it breaks below, will be met with a equal reaction above until, we start to see if it starts to get weaker reactions to the upside, that'll cause the 20 MA to start to point down. If we get stronger reactions to the upside, then it'll start to point up. Right now, it's very flat. So that means we're going to likely get reactions down met with equal reactions up, and that will maintain it being flat. So, it's pretty aggressive to call a short now, here and now, as the market has pulled back into support. Now, I do really like gap berries a lot, and we do have one here. And it is breaking the hourly. So it's something that on the SPY, neutral, IWM, bearish, and Qs still bullish. So divergence. And it's not the first time we saw this. We actually saw this, a week ago? Yeah, not a little over a week ago, I think, on the IWM in here, right? If you recall, we had a very similar scenario here where IWM was looking lower, SPY was starting to look neutral, and the Qs still look bullish. And what happened? Right? We crept our way up, right? So now the IWM is trying to come in again here. And so we will see. So actually, it was the IWM here on this day, right? On this day, IWM tried to lead lower. On this day, IWM tried to lead lower, right? But the Qs and the SPY maintain their uptrend just fine. So we've seen this before. We'll just be on the lookout. Go to neutral on the SPY. Bullishness remains on the Qs. Okay, so just a little bit of divergence to deal with. And hopefully we just get really narrow range days. That way we can just focus on the earnings names. All right, so only call from me today. Well, actually, this was called by Sammy and I both. The BK here, just a minute afterwards, on essentially the same setup, which was a 1 minute sell setup on the BK here. So moved up and then got sold. I did have one more call in the afternoon that ended up being a break-even play. This was the one really though, the BK. And then I let Sammy manage, which was good because Sammy ended up managing a little bit better than I did on the BK here. But this was definitely the best gap that we had today. I had this clearly as the best gap. And then I had KSU and CSX kind of tied for which was a better long. There was a call also on the TXT this morning, but it never triggered. So ran up a lot. And we got this little bit of a pullback and a base. And I had a call to see if we break over this base to retest the highs. And just maybe we get some more continuation here. It had already reached target, which is why that first target was actually going to be just a retest of the highs, because we already got to this resistance here. Okay, so that was also a call. Didn't trigger on the TXT, but you're going to see a lot of the this a lot from the room, just because we all use the same methodology, identify the same entry patterns. You can see there's a little bit different in the numbers. I'm just a little bit more maybe paranoid of getting shaken out of place, so I'm more likely to give something a little bit more room in either direction to get me in, so it doesn't just kind of get me in by a penny and get me out by a penny or something like that. So especially the BK, I had 3-4 cent spread at times, but this was definitely the one. And if you could stick with it, and it's even the hourly here, it didn't trail you in at a bad spot. I ended up killing it prematurely, and that definitely was a mistake. It was actually the first break from my plan in the last 9 plays, and ended up being a bit costly there. So just something where I lost patience. Needed to be a little bit more patient. Best gap today. Just need to give it more time to work. A gap like this should close at the lows. Okay, this is a good gap clearing support. Should close at the lows, and that's what it ended up doing. So, we just got to make sure that we stay focused, stick to your management plan. I did kind of have a nice conversation with the room at the end of the day about management plans. And I showed them that my old management plan, very complicated, because I wanted to be able to do the right thing and get the most out of every single possible play. And you may not even be able to read this because it's just so blur. It's a little bit blurry and it's just unnecessarily complicated. This is what it is now, which still has multiple decision points in it, right? But a lot less complicated than it was before. And so, it is really important that you have a management plan that you can follow as much as possible. I know we all strive to follow it 100% of the time. Just ended up being a mistake here. And then, you can always track the mistakes that you make. This one ended up costing me a couple R's here. The difference in executing the management plan versus kind of bailing on it early. And so you can track what those mistakes. Now sometimes, right, I'll get out of it early, and it would have maybe been a full stop, and I would have saved some money. So you want to track those too. If there was something that you saw here, maybe because it was looking like it was going to cross into an uptrend or something, right, crossing the 20 MA. Maybe if you find out that you do save money every time it does something like that, then you can add that into your plan as a management trail there, right? So it's just one of those things that you can track. And then if you want to make adjustments, you can. It's very important. I know some people responded in the room saying that they don't have a management plan yet, which puts a lot of pressure on you to make constant judgment calls and hope that your gut tells you the right thing. And it's just, I think, a tough way to expect consistency and longevity by putting that much pressure on your own kind of intuition or chart reading skills when you have money on the line, right? Which is when we might not be the most objective. Okay, so, I just wanted to bring that up. I definitely kind of messed this trade up, but, hopefully at least it'll be a valuable lesson for you, and hopefully that'll get some of you to actually get a management plan down so that you can start to make those adjustments and make those improvements on the plan moving forward. Okay, so BK I thought really was the best one. Really nice gap that we had today. I thought the other ones, like the KSU, the CSX, TXT, what they didn't have was the shock value, right? So this is kind of moving from a few days up and then gapping up, right? CSX, right, has been moving up. A few inside bars here. You could say those are red bars, but not that much shock value. Same with the KSU. They've already been up basing here. They are breaking out, which is nice, but not a lot of shock value. Now, if you look at the BK, what was the BK doing, right? Moving up and then gapping down. So who's most likely in pain, at least most recently, who's looking to get out? buyers, most likely, because we've had net buying over the last week versus net selling. So most likely you have some buyers, some longs trapped. Maybe they're expecting good earnings, saw that the other banks were doing well. I don't know what the reason was, but we know that this footprint of money said that people were buying it, right? So the expectation is when the gap down should go lower. Okay, that's why Sammy and I were so aggressive in trying to find an entry into this short because of this shock value, because of it clearing support as well. Okay, all right. So like I said, going into tomorrow, neutral on the SPY, bullish on the Qs. Okay, and so really neutral to bullish going into tomorrow. Will we get the hourly to break on the Qs? That'll help confirm that maybe the SPY is going to give us some kind of setup lower. For now, kind of just have to wait and see if that's what we're going to get. All right. Hope you did well today. All right. If not, we'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll see what the market gives us, and I will talk to you then. All right. Have a great evening.